Hello and welcome again to class. Thank you so much for staying around. Today we wrap it up on dietary iron. Now we already started with the historical perspective. We've also looked at the sources of iron, being the heme sources, being the animal sources like eating meat and cheese and dairy products. We've also considered the absorption of iron after consumption. There is sequel to that digestion and sequel to that absorption, and that's done usually in the jejunum and the duodenum or the small intestine. And then we've also considered metabolism of iron, and this time we're looking at both the functions of iron and deficiency symptom. So I want you to pay rapt attention. Now, if you've missed the previous classes, the previous lessons, you do yourself this good by going over to the previous videos. I want to also expect that you'd like, you subscribe if you've been gaining value, and also follow. Thank you so much. Share also the video. You have a comment, you have a question, you want to pass a comment, or you want to give a compliment, please do. Just give a compliment, say kudos, thank you so much, well done. It doesn't take anything, it doesn't cost anything to give a compliment. Thank you so much, be free with your compliments. Thanks so much for this. Now let's go straight. Now we looked at all this, now we looked at the function of iron. Dietary iron, dietary iron when it's taken, is actually the primary reason of the very most conspicuous importance of iron is in the transport of oxygen. And the protein molecule, that the substance that transports oxygen in the blood, is called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is responsible for transporting oxygen. What hemoglobin does is that it actually binds with oxygen molecule that is taken when we breathe in. So it picks the oxygen molecule, binds to them, and inside the blood, as the blood flows to every part of the body, it transports oxygen, even to the nails, to everywhere, every part of the body, the smallest part, transporting oxygen. Now also, you have it in myoglobin, so hem. Now look at what I've always said in science. Hem referring to blood. Hem. Myo referring to muscle. So myoglobin. So it also this is of course in the red blood cells that have the hemoglobin. So this is the muscles and the cells of the muscles in myoglobin. So oxygen transportation and storage. Oxygen transportation and storage. Now another usefulness, benefit and function of iron is in energy production, especially in the electron transport chain. Now you already know in respiration that the respiration are three parts mainly. The glycolysis first part, which occurs inside the mitochondria, and then inside the cytoplasm, and then the Krebs cycle in the mitochondria, and then the electron transport chain. In this electron transport chain, enzymes that function here in the production of energy have many iron 3 in them, 3 plus. So enzymes that function in the electron transport chain, which ensures the production of energy. We talked about energy being produced in form of ATP, which is the currency in which the body knows and carries energy. Energy is put in the currency called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So energy production in the electron transport chain. Another function of iron is in the immune function. That is, iron helps support the cell immune activities. Then also in cognitive development. How does it do this? How does that? Now it's actually in the growing of the brain and neurotransmitter synthesis. Now the neurotransmitters are those that send impulses from the receptors and then to the brain or spinal cord to quickly interpret and then send back to tell you, oh, this is what is going on, and then you make your reaction. So in the production, in the synthesis, we call it synthesis of neurotransmitters Iron. Dietary iron is actually very crucial, and also the growth of the brain. This helps in children development. So iron is important in the food, the diet of the children. Now also cellular metabolism. Now the cell also, just like the entire body, you talk about metabolism of the body, it actually starts with the cells. So cells either breaking down and then rebuilding, which is catabolism and anabolism. Iron plays an important part in enzymes involved in production of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, and the repair of DNA. We talked about this previously. Want to check the previous videos. Now, having said this, that iron is actually very crucial in energy production, in transportation of oxygen through the hemoglobin and myoglobin, and also immune function and protection of the body and in cognitive development. If it happens that there's shortage of iron in the body, or there is no iron, which rarely happens, what is it called? It is actually called iron deficiency anemia. Now, I pointed this previously that anemia, and in science means without or not available. Emia means the blood. So anemia, no blood, not available, without blood. So iron deficiency anemia. Now, so how do you know a person is deficient in iron? You know, definitely you may have observed, you go to the hospital, they check your eyes, they want to check if it's still reddish or pale, or you check the nails. If it's very pale, you can tell. Sometimes you look at the palm. If the palm is not reddish, you could tell that this person is deficient in iron. Now, so how do you know? Now, let's just go. Now, some symptoms of nutritional deficiency. Now, just to say this, that iron deficiency happens to be the most common nutritional deficiency. We talked about potassium, calcium, and the others, but the most common is iron. Now, you talk about Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and other places where you have certain diseases, even the common mosquito bites. One of the signs you begin to see a person reduce blood because the parasite kills white and red blood cells. Is it also worm infestation in a person or animal? It keeps on the worm socks. External worms like tick, lice, and the others, they still suck blood from the outside. Internal worms also suck blood, and once they suck blood, the animal keep losing weight and also keep losing blood. Now, other things can be injury, another thing they could cause. Internal injury, external injury can cause also deficiency, that loss of blood. So you begin to see the signs, emaciation, and the others. But let's look at certain symptoms of a person or an animal that is deficient in iron. Number one is tiredness, weakness, fatigue. How is it related to? It's related to what? Energy production. So you see how this is related to this energy production. So when you have enough iron, you can produce energy. But when it's shortage, you see fatigue and weakness. Another thing is the pale skin, like I talked about, and mucous membrane. Mucous membrane are the linings of internal organs and the others. Now you want to look at the pale skin, the external part. You see the pale, instead of being with your normal consistency, you begin to see it becoming pale. For example, a person that is anemic. Now we look at certain children or people that have sickle cell anemia. You see them, they are almost always pale because of the red blood cells being destroyed faster. The liver sees them as something strange because the shape of the red blood cell is not exactly circular. It's like a sickle, So it sees this as something abnormal. It kills it. So it kills them from time to time. So you begin to see that. Now, another deficiency symptom of iron is shortness of breath and fast heartbeat. Now, this is related to this. related to this. Oxygen transportation. Now, when there's a deficiency in production of oxygen, you begin to see shortness of breath. The person begins to gasp for air into try, and in the same process, the heart begins to beat more. It happens when people are fallen ill. Now, when people fall sick of malaria or any ailment where the parasites or bacteria or whatsoever have taken so much, have absorbed or taken in oxygen, you see the person becoming pale, not just pale, sometimes they can't walk a little or do a little thing. The person is gasping for air. So these are the deficiencies or iron. Another one is dizziness, closely related to fatigue. Person feel dizzy, the eyes are like you want to fall or like this. And you also have headache. I've experienced this in the time past, and I believe you have also. Now, you also see brittle nails and loss of hair, also called alopecia, or it could be temporary one, alopecia. There is also impaired concentration and cognitive performance. Impaired concentration, this is very crucial. Times where we're reading in the university, you want to read, it's getting close to exam, or just generally you're reading. If you don't help yourself, eat well, and also take some multivitamins and hemoglobin syrup or drugs, you discover that you can't read for a very long time. You can't concentrate properly. But anytime you go, okay, from time you take some hemoglobin to boost your energy, you know there's more blood flow in the body, especially to the brain, you can stay longer. Now, another thing which I may not have written here is I have noticed it. When I'm short on blood when reading, you fall asleep quickly. You can't read for 2 hours in a stretch. You just discover that you just be sleeping, you doze. You can't concentrate properly. So try to see that blood level is normal. So that's also good. There's impaired concentration. You can't concentrate well. You're tired. You're not feeling okay. Then also poor cognitive performance. You want to think something out. You want to notice this. You want to be able to decipher this. It's going to be poor because iron in the blood is actually low. There is also delayed growth and development in children. Now, iron is actually very important in this, in oxygen transportation and also immune function. There's also cognitive development growth. Now, and also metabolism of enzymes that DNA. Remember DNA synthesis. DNA controls also the production of proteins, certain proteins that are required for growth. Now, when iron is deficient, it affects this aspect, all these 5 functions, especially with children. It doesn't help in the synthesis of protein that helps them to grow. Now, having gone through all these things, I want to briefly, before we close the curtain, draw the curtain, the historical perspective of iron, how it has been discovered by the ancients, how some even have to feed animals from clay, red clay or red mud. Then also the sources, being the animal sources, like muscles of animals, muscle that is meat. Muscle is when the animal is still alive. You call it muscle, but when the animal is alive, it's dead. What you see as muscle, it becomes meat. Meat associated to dead animal, muscle with the animal that is alive and living. Then we also looked at the other part, the plant sources, which are from green leafy vegetables, legumes, nuts, cereals, and the others. Then we looked at absorption, metabolism, functions, and deficiency symptoms. If you gain value, don't be liberal with your compliments. Just say compliment, thank you, kudos, you've done a good job. You have a question, please ask a question. You think someone needs to know about this, please share the video. You've not watched the previous, please check the previous videos. Thank you so much for staying tuned today. Let's do it again. In the next class, we'll be looking at another mineral. You want to know what mineral we'll be considering. Till then, thank you so much. See you.